So the two largest cities in Tennessee are Nashville and Memphis. And today we're going to have a battle royale between the two and see which one wins based on several different categories that I've come up with. So if you're curious to see who wins, stay tuned. What's up, everybody? This is Tiffany Gudger with Tiffany Gudger Real Estate right here in Nashville, Tennessee. If this is your first time to our channel, thank you for stopping by. And if you want to know everything there is to know about living, eating, working, sleeping, playing in Nashville, Tennessee, in the Middle Tennessee area, make sure you go ahead and click subscribe and hit that little bell so you're notified every time we do a new video. We get people reaching out to us every single day and we love it. So we are here to help days, nights, weekends, whenever you need us. We've got your back when moving to the Nashville and Middle Tennessee areas. Just make sure you reach out. So today we are going to talk about the differences between Nashville and Memphis. I had a request from someone asking if I would do a video like this. So today we are doing one where we compare them in a couple different categories that I've came up with. Some of the stuff in here is going to be facts that I found online or numbers that I found from the Census Bureau website and different things like that. And some will be my personal opinion. So who wins could be depending on your personal opinion on a couple of things, but this is just me, and these are my thoughts, as well as, like I said, some facts and numbers and figures too. So let's get started. First, let's talk location. So Nashville is located in Middle Tennessee, pretty much right smack dab in the middle of the state. Nashville is also Tennessee's state capital, for those of you that don't remember from school. And then Memphis is further west. It is in the southwest corner. They're roughly 3 hours apart, so not too far away in the grand scheme of things, but just to kind of give us an idea on the map, that's where they're both located in Tennessee. Also, really quickly, before we jump into the actual voting topics, I want to talk about the people a little bit. And I've got my notes here so that I make sure and give you guys the correct numbers on everything. But with Nashville and Memphis being the biggest cities, I looked into census.gov and bestplaces.net, and actually since 2010, Memphis has decreased in population. And Nashville since 2010 has increased its population by like 11%. So surprisingly, Memphis population is down, and Nashville, unsurprisingly, is just growing like crazy, and their population is up about 11% overall since 2010. Also, as far as diversity goes, I feel like both places are really diverse cities. So I do feel like that's a positive that they both have, is they're both pretty diverse. And then one more thing I wanted to touch on is, obviously Tennessee is a red state primarily overall. When it comes to politics, Nashville and Memphis actually are about the same. With them being bigger cities, they're a little more on the liberal side, with 60% of the population being registered Democrats, about 35% being registered Republicans, and then 5% being registered as independent or other. So they are actually pretty much neck and neck as far as politics go as well. So that kind of covers the people. Just wanted to give you an idea of the growth rate and that kind of stuff with the populations. Okay, so the first thing I want to talk about that we're going to vote on between the two is the schools. So unfortunately, both cities have public school systems that rank lower than the state average. And then as the two school districts that did primarily remote learning during the pandemic and last year, they actually saw their test scores fall further on average than the state did as a whole. Because the state as a whole had some decrease in test scores last year just due to all the craziness and everything that went on in 2020. But Nashville and Memphis saw their decline in their average test scores was actually greater than the decline for the state. I will say both cities have suburbs surrounding them that actually have some of the highest rated schools in the state. So while the in-city schools aren't ranked great on some of the websites online, there are suburbs that have great ranking schools around them. So you'll just have to look into that when you're looking to move. And I will say Nashville has some really good community colleges and universities that are nationally ranked, like Belmont, Lipscomb, and Vanderbilt. So because of the colleges in the Nashville area, I think I'm going to have to give the schools, I'm going to have to give the point to Nashville on this one. All right, next, let's talk jobs. I will say in Nashville, the largest job markets here are tech and healthcare. And I will say, according to bestplaces.net, also, Nashville unemployment is much lower than the national average right now. And unfortunately, Memphis's unemployment is double that of Nashville's. Good news for both places is that they both have projected job growth rates that are higher than the national average. So the job rates are just growing like crazy. But I will say Nashville's is even more, like, just much more significant than Memphis is. Also, the Wall Street Journal actually put out a rankings naming Nashville as the second hottest job market in 2019 with the lowest unemployment rate. I will say, of course, the pandemic kind of did a toll on Nashville as far as the unemployment rate and caused that to go up a little bit. But ever since then, we're pretty much faring just fine and have almost completely recovered. Also, Wallet Hub did a comparison of 180 cities in the United States to determine the best places to find a job in 2021. And Nashville ranked 70th, while Memphis came in all the way at 157. So these couple of points that we've just talked about, and especially this last one, have kind of led me to give the point for jobs to Nashville. All right, next we're going to talk about traffic. Nashville traffic is awful, especially during commuter hours. Again, it's not LA traffic or anything like that, and they both have traffic, Memphis and Nashville. I will say I feel like Nashville traffic is worse, again, especially during commuter hours, and the potholes here. We're going to throw that into the traffic because I'm sure potholes cause wrecks here. I don't know, but due to the road conditions and commuter hour traffic, Memphis gets the point on having better traffic. All right, next thing on our list is going to be crime. So out of all the cities, the major cities in Tennessee, Nashville ranks at the safest, and it is the 37th safest city in Tennessee overall. Several of the Nashville suburbs actually rank in the top 5 safest cities in Tennessee, like Brentwood and places like that. I think a lot of it has to do with gated communities and all that kind of stuff. But so yeah, some of the top 5 safest cities in Tennessee are actually suburbs of Nashville. Memphis actually ranks 51st safest out of 53 that are ranked. So did not come out very well. Almost dead last in the safest city category. Neighborhood Scout actually came out with a study that ranked Memphis as the number 3 most dangerous city in the country, actually. And Nashville did rank on this list. It was ranked number 42. So still on the list, still crime. Of course, in bigger cities are going to have more crime than other places, but Memphis was number 3. And other research, according to Numio lists, has Memphis being 50% less safe than Nashville, both in violent and nonviolent crimes. So, that's like your theft and that kind of stuff. So I feel like there's a clear winner on this one. And unfortunately for Memphis, Nashville gets the vote on the crime statistics. Right, next is weather, and this is going to be more of a personal opinion. The weather is pretty much the same, but Nashville, being just a tad more north, has a little bit colder weather in the winter than Memphis does, which can be a con, but the pro for me is that Nashville averages about 10 inches of snow a year, and Memphis only averages 5. So me personally, I like one really good snow, and then that's kind of it for me. Like one good one, I'm good to go. and then that's all. And that's pretty much what happens in Nashville. We might get, 2 or 3 dustings, but for the most part, we'll have one good snow maybe. And it's not really a ton to worry about, maybe a day or two from school or work. But in this instance, normally I would vote for Memphis because of the cold temperatures, but Nashville gets a little more snow, which I personally like. So my personal opinion, and it could be different than yours, so make sure you're keeping notes and keeping score on your end. But on my end, for the weather, it's going to go to Nashville. Next is public transportation. And I'm literally not going to waste your time on this because they both are pretty terrible for public transportation. There's really not any good systems in place. There's some buses and stuff like that, but for the most part, they both are kind of sucky. So it's a tie on this one. They both lose. Moving on, we're going to talk a little bit about cost of living. So according to census.gov, the median household income for Nashville is almost $60,000 and just over $41,000 for Memphis. So there is a big difference in the median average income. It's higher in Nashville, but cost of living is 25% higher in Nashville as well, with no surprise here, but a majority of that being due to housing costs. Houses in Nashville is the biggest reason for a higher cost of living in Nashville. Currently, the median home price in Nashville is $385,000, and the median home price in Memphis is only $185,000. So $385,000 versus $185,000. And, Memphis is an older city with mostly older homes. And again, we talked earlier that the population is actually kind of declining just a tad. And then in Nashville, it's growing like crazy. Thousands and thousands and thousands of people moving here every year with a lot of new construction and things like that. So I do think those reasons and the population growth has a lot to do with the home values right here. Because, it's supply and demand. More people moving here means more houses. So there's not a lot of supply and a lot of demand for properties here in Nashville. That being said, I do feel like there are jobs that pay more in Nashville than this exact same job in Memphis. However, there are quite a few that pay, the same. So you might have a higher cost of living here in Nashville, but your job might pay the same as what it would be in Memphis. So there are lots of different things to take into account. Again, on average, you make more money here, but the houses are a lot more expensive, and there's a lot to weigh in here. And so I personally am going to give the cost of living aspect to Memphis. It is a more affordable city in general, even with the average job paying more here in Nashville. I'm going to say that the point for this goes to Memphis. So this one I'm really excited to talk about, and it is food. So for those of you that don't know, Nashville is really known for its Nashville hot chicken. And Memphis is known worldwide for its barbecue. It is mostly pork, roasted in pits, and it's absolutely delicious. I'm from North Carolina, which is also known for their barbecue, and I've still always had a soft spot for Memphis barbecue. You can't just make it anywhere. So Nashville hot chicken, Memphis barbecue. I will say Nashville has more critically acclaimed restaurants than Memphis does, but they both have great, little hole-in-the-wall restaurants. They both have really good critically acclaimed restaurants. There's just more in Nashville. And there's a great food scene in both places. So again, this is going to be personal preference, so make sure you're keeping note. I think I'm going to have to go with Nashville on this one. There's just more options here, and there's more restaurants, I think, that I can try new things. But Memphis barbecue is hard to beat. So it's a really, really close one. Nashville just smidges by there. I also have a big soft spot for fried chicken and hot chicken. So for the food scene, point goes to Nashville. The final thing we're going to talk about is music. We'll start with Nashville because it is nicknamed Music City. It is mostly well known for its country music. And then Memphis is mostly blues and rock and roll and is home to Graceland and was where Elvis lived. And I will say both places have significantly influenced jazz and rock and roll. So I'm sure it's due to them being so close, but it comes down to personal preference. Do you prefer country and that kind of stuff, or do you prefer blues and rock and roll? Both places, you can find it all. I know if you go into Nashville, you're going to find places that are playing music of all kinds. Yes, Broadway has its honky tonks and it's, a lot of country music, but you'll hear all kinds of stuff. And we've got a lot of jazz places too. And again, this is a personal preference and it's hard because both places are extreme music destinations. I mean, you can't go wrong with either one. I have just grown up loving country music, especially the, like 90s country and that kind of stuff. And so for me, I'm giving the point to Nashville and the music scene. So that being said, I believe that leaves us at 6 points for Nashville and 2 points for Memphis. So Nashville gets my vote. Nashville's better. I mean, it's going to come down to personal opinion on some things, but in my opinion and some of the other factors that I got numbers from online, both cost of living, crime, that kind of stuff, I just feel like Nashville's the clear winner. So that being said, if you are considering moving to the Nashville and Middle Tennessee area, please give me a call, reach out, give me a call, shoot me a text, send me an email. I would love to help, but you have to reach out. Let me know if you have any questions, comment down below if there's anything that you felt like I should add to this video, or any questions or comments or anything you might have learned. And until the next video, guys, we'll catch you later.